with a first Federal Reserve. Opens new tab interest rate cut of 2025, now considered to be in the bag. World markets are hungry for signals on how much more comes after. This has allowed the dollar to stabilize at four-year lows against the euro ahead of today's decision. U.S. stocks also stalled on Tuesday, and futures were flat ahead of today's bell. With Fed rate cut bets now gravitating to exactly 25 basis points after news of roaring 5%, annual retail sales growth in August helped put the kibosh on thoughts of a bigger move this week. Gold backed off too. That didn't stop us. Long bonds rallying opens new tab further, however. Helped by brisk demand for 20-year debt at Tuesday's auction, the 30-year yield hit a 4-to-1 half-month low of 4.62% ahead of the Fed announcement. Hong Kong shares closed at their highest level in 4 years, as the expected Fed cut, weakening dollar and buoyant local technology stocks all helped. Amid signs of returning foreign funds, confidence in China's artificial intelligence capabilities is rising, and U.S. President Donald Trump's announcement of a deal to keep TikTok operating opens new tab in America lifted appetite for risk assets. The U.S. and Chinese presidents are due to speak on Friday. By contrast, Nvidia slipped on Tuesday and continued to fall another 1% overnight on reports of weak China demand for a new AI chip, and after the Financial Times reported that China's main regulator told the country's big tech firms to stop buying all of Nvidia's AI chips. The euro surged to a 4-year high against a weakening dollar on Tuesday, but the greenback stabilized somewhat today, and the dollar index bounced slightly from 2-month lows. However, China's offshore yuan continues to boom to its strongest level of the year, and the best since the U.S. election. Japan's yen was at its strongest in a month ahead of Friday's Bank of Japan's decision, and the Canadian dollar steadied ahead of Wednesday's expected quarter-point rate cut by the Bank of Canada. Soft Canadian August inflation data on Tuesday underscored BOC easing bets. The Aussie dollar fell back from Tuesday's 1-year high. With Trump visiting Britain and the Bank of England's policy decision tomorrow, sterling hovered close to 2-month highs against the ailing dollar, and UK stocks and gilt prices were firmer. As part of the state visit, Britain and the United States agreed a technology pact to boost ties in AI, quantum computing, and civil nuclear energy. And top U.S. firms led by Microsoft pledged £31 billion, $42 billion, in UK investments. Easing bets for the rest of this year are off, as UK inflation in August held at 3.8% as expected, the highest inflation among major advanced economies. In today's column, take a look at whether the Fed might soon start stimulating an already healthy economy and explore how challenging it is to determine exactly where neutral truly is. Today's Market Minute. President Donald Trump on Tuesday announced an agreement between the U.S. and China to keep TikTok operating in the United States, with 3 sources familiar with the matter saying the deal was similar to one discussed earlier this year. Britain and the United States have agreed a technology pact to boost ties in AI, quantum computing, and civil nuclear energy. The tech prosperity deal is part of U.S. President Donald Trump's second state visit to Britain, which formally begins on Wednesday. President Donald Trump's renewed push to nix quarterly corporate disclosures, a drive that went nowhere in his first administration, has a better chance this time, as the White House takes more control of the Securities and Exchange Commission's agenda. The Trump administration has made it clear that they think Chair Jay Powell's team has done a poor job with inflation control. Horizon SLJ Asset Management CEO Stephen Jen argues that the president may have a point. The rush to hedge U.S. equity exposure this year was initially seen as part of a broad de-dollarization process. But, writes ROI Markets columnist Jamie McGeever, as the months go by and U.S. stocks roar to fresh tech-fueled highs, this theory seems to be crumbling.